Gold Glove finalists were announced, and Gino Suarez was snubbed. Julio Rodriguez, though, is an option for Gold Glove. We have a lot to talk about here on episode 30 of the Hit It Here podcast, including some comments made by a former Major League pitcher about the Seattle Mariners, as well as some roster moves that the Mariners had made here in the past week. But first, Joe, how are you?
Yeah, I'm a little fired up. I'm not gonna lie. The Geno snub, it's got me a little peeved. I can understand maybe he wouldn't win it, but not getting nominated is, I think, a complete oversight from the Gold Glove committee. And dude on Twitter that you were interacting with, dummy. I don't understand how he can't even begin to even see the side where Geno, having been a top 5 and outs above average in all of MLB, not just the American League, for third baseman, and fielding run value, same thing, top 5, how that's not deserving of at least a nomination. And even if he doesn't win, I think it's just been a really good cherry on top of his season that he's probably going to look back on relatively fondly, not for the offensive side, but the season in which he played 162 games and turned his, I don't want to say lackluster defense from prior in Cincinnati, but it definitely wasn't known as a defensive wizard. And in 2023, I would say Geno was that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was just working with Perry Hill after everything or what it was, but Geno was that guy. I was really, really surprised with how good he was. Again, playing 162 games at third base, that is so valuable. Even if Geno offensively was not the guy. And do I think that he should play 162 games next year? Absolutely not.
No.
But I think that defensively, he added so much value over there at third base. I don't know if I haven't really looked into like Bregman's or Jose Ramirez's or Matt Chapman's numbers over there at third base, but how can you look at what Geno did this year and not put him on that list? Like, I don't know. Maybe he goes out and wins the Fielding Bible Award instead. I'm not sure. I know they have like their own little like Gold Glove thing for the Fielding Bible. So I don't know. I don't know what it was. I think that I think I had him locked in over Julio to get nominated. Like if anyone was going to get snubbed, I thought it would be Julio, not Geno. So that surprised me. I mean, Julio, I think, has a good chance. It's Luis Robert and Kevin Kiermaier in center field along with Julio. So
yeah.
I mean, I'll be interested to see it. That he was the only nominee for the Seattle Mariners in 2023. So fingers crossed Julio can win it. I don't know. I'm just really am bummed about Geno in every aspect. I think that he was one of the best there was. And defensive metrics are such a crapshoot anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe it's just because we could watch him every day that we are like, yeah, this guy deserves a Gold Glove. I mean, I don't know. It is really tough to see.
Yeah, and even if, again, Julio doesn't win, it is, another nomination kind of a thing. He will likely continue to be nominated for many Gold Gloves throughout his entire career because he did improve his defense from 2022 to 2023. Would not be surprised that continues as a trend of him continuously being a lockdown defender in center field. As far as Geno, I felt like this might have been his one shot, right? And it's just kind of unfortunate that's going to go by the wayside. Someone that didn't go by the wayside, Brian O'Keefe, cleared waivers and made it to Tacoma. So, Brian O'Keefe, fan favorite, maybe, stays with the Mariners organization. Colton, why did he have to get, sent down?
So the Mariners acquired Caleb Ort from the Red Sox, right?
Yeah.
This is the Red Sox?
Red Sox.
Ever heard the name before? No, me neither. Well, he is a reliever. And you know how the Mariners are with relievers, so we can't just write this off as a nothing trade. Obviously, he gets added there to the 40-man roster, and Brian O'Keefe was taken off the 40-man roster. There's a good chance that Caleb Ort is nothing, and we never even see the guy, and he gets lost in the roster shuffle later on this offseason when the Mariners go out and acquire a different guy. Yeah. Or B, he turns into one of the best relievers in baseball. That's just the way things work with the Mariners and relief pitching. So, I don't know. Is there something with Caleb Ort that you think the Mariners can fix, or what did you see out of that trade?
I mean, to me, it feels very reminiscent of, the previous, we're looking in the recency bias, lens where Justin Topa was acquired for nothing. We thought, oh, maybe it's a nothing trade. And then he comes out and posts the best ERA plus for the Mariners among qualified pitchers in 2023. I'm not sure Caleb Ort's going to do that same exact thing, but I do know he's got an insane slider, which is where the Mariners are. That's just like their focal point. The Mariners have a type, and it's sliders. And I think you made that joke last offseason.
I did.
About Justin Topa, I think.
About the girl at the bar.
Yeah, exactly. We're bringing it back. Mariners and dudes with sliders, okay?
Yep.
It is just a thing. And whether, like you're saying, Caleb Ort could be nothing. But if we see legitimate innings out of him next year, don't be surprised. And there's plenty of guys on this roster in terms of bullpen relief pitcher arms that could factor into the 2024 season. Looking back, take me back a year in time. Would I have penciled in quality innings, like a number of quality innings from Isaiah Campbell, Taylor Saucedo, Justin Topa, and Gabe Swire, all four of them? No shot. Absolutely no shot. So there's a lot of, I think, potential there. It's just, I would honestly be a little bit worried that like what kind of availability he's going to have in terms of just like a spot, because there's guys like Prelander Baroa that still need an opportunity. Edward Brizardo is a guy that could be in that same boat as Caleb Ort. So it is one of those situations where I'm not going to lose sleep over the fact that he might be nothing. But, next year when he closes out a extra inning game to, put the Mariners in first place in the middle of September, chills.
If that happens, I'm buying a Caleb Ort jersey, which I'm going to have customized because there's no shot they make those.
Yeah, immediately. Game, or you could buy a game used one.
Something tells me he's probably not as dummy thick as I am, so I wouldn't be able to fit in that.
Maybe.
Yeah, looking back at last offseason, here's a name for you, JB Bukauskas. Remember him?
He pitched what, like 2 games?
Something like that. And so Caleb Ort very easily could be JB Bukauskas. He's a guy who's like, whatever, and then he's just gone, right? Mm-hmm. And then, or he could be, Justin Topa. Trent Thornton was good for the Mariners this season, 2023. Yeah, you didn't even say him. I know. How dare you? Remember, we started the year with Diego Castillo in the bullpen.
Rip the big boss.
The big boss, yeah. Rip, prayers up to him, going into free agency. Yeah. Hopefully he can be a big boss somewhere else. Vest daddy. So, I don't know. Caleb Ort, whatever. I was worried about Brian O'Keefe because, he's not great, but he's serviceable, and he's been with the organization for a long time. He's like a Rainier's legend at this point. And I think that I'm happy he's staying with the organization. I think he's really good depth down there. Again, you can't go into next season having him even being like your third string. If Brian O'Keefe comes up, that's probably worst case scenario, right?
Sure.
That means Tom Murphy's hurt.
And we didn't do something to fill that gap in the offseason. Yeah.
Right. So, I don't know. I like Brian O'Keefe. I think he's a good guy to have, and he knows the pitching staff well. He knows the organization well. So, I'm happy he's sticking around, even if it's not on a 40-man roster spot. And again, over the next 4 or 5 months, the roster is going to get juggled around and guys are going to get lost in the sauce. Caleb Ort, this might be the last time and the first time we ever mention this guy's name.
True.
So who knows? It should not stop the Mariners from going out and signing a reliever this offseason, of course, a better reliever. One of the guys that I was very interested in this offseason was Trevor May.
We were interested in the last offseason too.
Yeah, and Trevor hung up the cleats, and he had some interesting things to say about the Seattle Mariners.
As a Seattle native, what do you think of the Mariners right now? What was it like facing them? I loved facing them, but that was mostly because I knew it was almost over, and I had a bone to pick. I really wanted to be a Mariner, guys. I can say that outright. I can say things that I was keeping kind of under wraps. I really tried to be a Mariner, especially last year. I tried so hard. I delayed. I even kind of messed up a negotiation with another team because I wanted to give the Mariners a chance, and I just wasn't part of that math equation, which really frustrates me because I think that kept me from being on that team. I think that I didn't fit because of the nature of my contract would have been, and that just pisses me off because I would have taken whatever to play on that team. I would have. Because I know it's weird and capitalism. I'm supposed to be out there and be like, I'm not going to play for you. We don't give me enough money. But it wasn't about that for me this year. It was about enjoying myself, finding a way to enjoy myself as a player.
So Trevor May obviously really wanted to be with the Seattle Mariners. And he ended up taking a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Oakland Athletics, which, hey, he was very good for the Athletics in 2023. But he also said that, he really wanted to pitch for the Mariners, and he would have pitched for basically nothing. And it just makes no sense to me that the Mariners wouldn't have signed Trevor May. It seemed like the most obvious fit. Hometown local kid who really wants to play for the Mariners, and he's very into pitch shape and pitch tracking and whatnot. It just seemed like the perfect fit, in my opinion. And that's why, again, I wanted him this offseason. I literally have a list on my phone of the top free agent targets. I already made one about the hitters. I was going to make one about the pitchers, and he was going to be one of the top ones, but he's gone, and the Mariners screwed it up.
Maybe we can pull him out of retirement.
You think so?
No, probably not. If anything, if I could see him being in a role with the Mariners in 2024, it will be as the bullpen coach because Stephen Vogt is getting plucked for a managerial job.
Out of my mind.
So that could be something. But yeah, I'm fully on board with what you're saying about how we wanted him last year. Could have used him again this year if like he decided to not retire. The thing that's the most interesting aspect for me talking about what he wanted for this year, because with that mindset of like I would have pitched for them for nothing, it felt like this entire time this was going to be his last year no matter what. But he just can't really, you can't really say that. I mean, you can, but like you're not Miguel Cabrera, you're not Albert Poole, like the people that are going to get like the send off season. For Trevor May, he probably didn't know, but the way he was phrasing it, it seemed like he did. So I don't know if that was like maybe you could have like influenced decisions maybe a little bit more that way. But the thing that stands out to me is talking about like what his contract would look like, what his contract meant. And a lot of people have pointed out the fact that it would have been a major league contract, meaning that we wouldn't have had space for him and we would have had to designate someone for clear a spot on that roster. And that doesn't seem like that large of an issue to me, because there were, a handful of names that one you could probably just remove from what are you going to do?
No, keep going. I'm going to look up the Mariners opening day roster.
Yeah. Okay.
Keep
Like
going.
there were plenty of names that I think you could have very easily replaced Trevor May with. And one, they could have cleared waivers, or two, if you lost them, they weren't going to pitch very many big league innings for you in 2023 anyways. So I don't understand maybe the hang up of why they just didn't want to do it. And if it's a money thing, if it's $7 million and Trevor May went out and said that he would, take less, that is a really awful look, a continuously awful look for ownership.
So let's go over the Mariners opening day bullpen, shall we? Paul Sewald. Yep. Would have lost that spot. Andres Munoz. No. Diego Castillo. I mean, we couldn't have known he was going to be as bad as he was this year, so he probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
Matt Brash. Yeah. But then Chris Flexen, Matt Festa, Trevor Guy.
Yeah.
And then Penn Murphy was in there as well, but he got hurt, obviously.
Yeah.
Those three guys.
Yeah.
Easy. Get rid of them. DFA them. You ended up DFAing. I mean, you traded Flexen, you traded Gott, whatever. You DFA'd Festa. Like,
yeah, I think the move there would have probably been Festa. You probably want to try and keep Flexen for innings, long relief. And you don't know that because you signed Gott in the offseason. You expected him to be maybe a little bit better than he was, but he wasn't terrible with the Mariners. His first couple outings were good. And I don't know. Having Trevor May instead of Matt Festa, I think that's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, it just seems like the most obvious answer was right there, and they just chose to not take it. Like, could you? I mean, I don't know if I think Festa was out of options, but like, maybe you could have sent him down, right? And then sign Trevor May. Who cares? Like, Trevor May is a guy who has been there, has done that, has been one of the better relievers in baseball. Sure, he had a hiccup season there with like the Mets, for example, but it makes no sense to me. Again, someone who wants to play for you that bad, they're going to give it. Like, look at Taylor Saucedo this season. Like, he's a guy who obviously wanted to play in Seattle. He's from the area, and he really relished being on this team. Well, like, what would I have given to have another one of those guys on the team who could have been in that bullpen as well, who was gonna come out there and be a bulldog every single game? Yeah, I would have given up Matt Festa. I would have given up for the one roster spot of Trevor May. I would have DFA'd Gott, Flexen, and Festa in hindsight. All of them, they're gone. Yeah. Get them out.
If you can travel back in time,
dude.
Don't look at your gray hair.
Do you guys see that? Like, it's over. I got a gray hair in my beard. I'm gonna die.
No, you're not gonna die. So sad. You just don't have anything better to do.
It's the beginning of the end. Okay,
we're gonna travel back in time, not to the beginning of the season, but to the trade deadline. It's August 1st. Okay. We just traded Paul Sewald. We acquired Edward Bizardo. What are you trading to the Oakland Athletics to acquire Trevor May at the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of no-name prospects. Like, the Athletics probably would have been fine with that. And I don't know, like, they would have been.
It's like a half season of a reliever, to replace Sewald at that rate. I think that even without having signed him in the offseason, that trade also could have been a no-brainer.
Yeah, and he was the highest paid player on the Athletics roster as far as I know. So it's like,
I think so.
It makes just do it. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. You're completely right. But continue with your thought. I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
No, that was it. It's just like, what are you trading for Trevor May? Maybe even try and acquire a Brent Rooker in there to be your, fourth outfielder, DH role, whatever type in the middle of his breakout season. What are you gonna as for the Mariners, like looking back on it, where are you going to be at without acquiring them? Not in the playoffs. Are you in the playoffs with those two guys? Maybe. It's not a guarantee. It's, there's never a guarantee it's going to work out. The Angels have tried to acquire players to make them better, and that completely backfired. I'm not saying that Trevor May is going to go out there and give up 100 runs in his first 2 outings like Lucas Giolito did, but in retrospect, like, you wanted another guy in the bullpen, a lot of the Mariners fans would say, and Trevor May could have been a guy for you. And, there are other guys that we acquired in the deadline that saw innings. So, like, this then inquires about Trent Thornton. It inquires about Edward Pizzardo, Dominic Leone on waiver. There's a lot of interesting, roster nuance that isn't necessarily, I don't think it's able to be fully fleshed out. You're posed, I'm going to keep talking over you, so you have to stay like that. It's not going to be able to be fully fleshed out because this is just a big what if, but acquiring him at the deadline also makes a ton of sense to me.
You will get Dominic Leone innings, and you will like it.
Okay.
You're not going to get Trevor May innings.
Nope, you only get Dominic. I'm sorry.
Sorry about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It just makes no sense to me. And I think that, is this the Mariners organization being cheap again? Because that would have been like the second, a 1-year, $7 million deal would have been the second largest free agent contract the Mariners handed out last offseason behind AJ Pollock's 1-year, $8 million deal.
I think Pollock was also 1 year 7.
Was he? I thought he was 1 year 8. Yeah.
Either way, 1 year 7, 1 year 8, whatever. It's $1 million. That's the Trevor Gott contract, $1 million. It's just like, it's so silly.
Well, and I guarantee he would have come for $1 million. Like, he would have been like, "Yo, Trevor, you want to come here for $1 million?" He said, "Yeah." He said that he would take anything. He said that he messed up negotiations with another team, waiting for the Mariners, hoping that he could get that deal. It's like, really? Like, the Mariners front office in the free agent market gives themselves a bad name, and we look at that for future free agent spendings. For example, we have Blake Snell, who we've all talked about, who he wants to come to Seattle. We all want him to come to Seattle. The Mariners aren't going to offer him enough money. It's not going to happen. They're not going to offer him a contract. They're going to say, "Oh, you don't fit in our plan," or something stupid. It makes no sense to me. What do you think about the Blake Snell contract, and does this do something to that in the future?
This definitely, I think, puts it, like you're saying, it puts them in a negative light in terms of free agency and trying to bring guys in that maybe want to be here. Blake Snell, you're talking about him because he's obviously a Seattle guy. He's a native guy. Same thing like Trevor May. What is that going to tell Blake Snell that Trevor May, another guy, wanting to play for his hometown team, didn't get asked, didn't even get offered didn't be asked to, like, "Hey, you want to come pitch for your hometown team?" Is Blake Snell going to get that same treatment? Or if they do offer him a contract, is it going to be a slap to the face because they're like, "Oh, Trevor May said he'd come here on a dime. Why can't we get Blake Snell for, 50% off? It's a buy one, get one at this rate." It's going to be, I'm just hoping that there's not reports that come out saying that there's two sides to this. I hope there's not reports saying that comes out that we lowballed him to this extreme level where then it's like, okay, that's what we're looking to pay every single free agent. We're looking to get people to sign for so cheap that we're just not ever going to sign anybody. Or 2, that we never even offered him anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think,
I don't know. Go ahead.
It speaks to the larger issue that we all have with this front office. Is that, like, we remember the Kevin Mather comments about, "Oh, the free agents are going to come to us with their hat in their hand." That didn't happen. That's not how that worked. They're not going to, like, you go out there and spend the damn money. Just go out there, make the offer that no one else is making. It doesn't need to be exuberant, but you need to be competitive in that field so you can't continue to say free agents don't want to come here when you're not offering them even competitively compared to what other teams are offering them. It makes no sense. And I think that this is another thing that we saw with stuff like this coming out, and it's all trickled down throughout the years. We heard about the Kevin Mather thing, how cheap the Mariners are. We've heard about, guys saying that the Mariners aren't going to offer them long-term contracts or like a slap to the face, like the Logan Gilbert contract extension that Ben Ranieri talked about with Ryan Divish, or the Trevor May thing. It's like the Mariners' unwillingness, and it all starts with John Stanton, because obviously, Jerry and Justin, they're going to say what they have to say. They're going to say whatever they can to save their job. They're not going to bash their boss. So
PR Jerry.
Right, PR Jerry. He's doing us a favor by not going out and spending money.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just keeping you updated. So looking at this, it's like every offseason we get something like this. And this was this was before the offseason even officially started. Trevor May coming out and saying, "I'm so glad that he did. And I'm so interested to hear." Like, he has been such an interesting person to listen to over the past couple of days because he has gone out there and basically said what he couldn't say when he was a player.
Yeah.
Like he bashed John Fisher and he said what everybody in the Athletics clubhouse was thinking.
Mhm.
And then he basically bashed the Mariners organization. I think that going forward, the Mariners are starting to lose credibility in free agent markets like this, like with a Blake Snell or something like that, because it's because of how cheap they are. Are guys even going to want to pick up the phone when they see John Stanton or Jerry Dipoto calling?
I don't. Yeah, that's. I would hope so. I hope that it's not completely ruined at this point, and maybe this could be like a moment of clarity for them. Like, oh hey, maybe it's time to kind of put our money where our mouth is. For Blake Snell, Spotrac has him at a market value of $23.5 million. So realistically, we're probably looking at another Robbie Ray contract, right? Like
Yeah.
roughly.
And that sounds right. And I don't know if I'm willing to offer that to Blake Snell.
And see, I don't think it's not necessarily. I don't think he's undeserving of that money, right?
Right.
It is, he has pitched very well. He's gonna win the Cy Young again, without a doubt in my mind. If he doesn't, that's another snub kind of a situation. And it just, for the Mariners, does that make sense? And right now, I don't think it does either. It's just, I think it depends on where the offseason goes. If you make some trades from your starting pitching to acquire other bats, then sure, maybe that contract makes sense. However, as it stands right now, I don't really think it does. But I also don't want that to be a preventative measure of them checking in, saying like, hey, where are we at? 21 million? Like, I don't know. Like, and that's, me going back on my comment earlier saying that we lowballed him, but I think lowballing would be like 15 million a year, where it's like, that's a horrendous offer. But 23.5, it's just not in the Mariners' cards, it feels like, for that position.
Yeah, because that's not their area of need, right? Like they have guys cheaper than that can be just as good as Blake Snell. I think that Logan Gilbert's that guy. George Kirby's that guy.
Yeah.
So I like going out and signing Blake Snell should not be a priority this offseason unless you trade somebody, unless you trade the Bryce Miller or the Brian Wood. Even then, you don't need to go out and go to the high end of the market and get Blake Snell. There was a trade that you and I had seen. It was like Logan Gilbert to the Cardinals for like 3 guys.
Yeah,
and we both do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it was was it
Donovan, Gorman, and O'Neill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In a heartbeat, we'd do that for Logan Gilbert as long as you go out and sign somebody. It doesn't need to be Blake Snell or Sonny Gray, but it can't be Caleb Ort.
the Caleb Ort, the starting pitcher. Yeah, no, you have to supplement it in a certain way. And whether or not, those 3 guys, Gorman, Donovan, and O'Neill, they're going to be locks at their position. Like, everyone wants them to be, the guys that are come in and be the players that we all need them to be right away. It's never a guarantee. And, Donovan's got the Tommy John, so that's a whole other situation there. But for Gilbert, we know where his value is, and we understand that he's a 3 for us. Could go higher for other staffs very easily. For that Cardinals pitching staff, he's probably their 1 if we were to trade them Logan Gilbert. And that's, I think, the biggest question that the Mariners have going into this offseason is, how do you leverage your depth to make yourself better for 2024 without losing too much of it and making yourself worse? And for the Mariners, we all know that their greatest asset in 2023 was their pitching. Like, it continuously kept us in games, won us games, kept us, within, arm's reach of a playoff spot, of a division title even. And I don't know, I'm not sold on the fact that we should trade the pitching, but the market, it's so much heavier in pitching than it is in hitting that I think it just makes sense to. But I don't know if I'm not emotionally ready to have that conversation,
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, that's the thing with this market is I'm okay with trading Bryce Miller or Brian Wu as long as you're getting back something of pretty damn good value, because how valuable those guys are to the Mariners might even be more valuable than they are to some other teams, because they give the Mariners their greatest strength. So you have to, if you're going to take from column A and column B's down here, you need to bring column B a little bit closer, even if you lose a little bit of column A. I think that you can supplement that by going out and still signing it. We're talking about Blake Snell, of course. If he's willing to take like a bit of a hometown discount, then sure, you definitely go have those conversations. You can't just not. But you're also not going to pay him $23.5 million a year. That's ridiculous. So there's a fine line the Mariners need to walk, where I think pitching would want to come to Seattle, by the way. Like, I think Seattle is a place where if you're a pitcher, you're like, I want to go there. Whereas obviously offense is not. And so if you can leverage that by going out and getting pitching on the free agent market and then trades, you're forcing guys to come here. It's a weird way to put it, but it's true.
You have no other choice.
You have no other choice but to come here and hit for us, dude. This is really bugging me. Look at this gray
Leave
hair,
it
guys.
alone.
Look at this gray hair. It's just really there. It's like really flashy. I think that like going out and getting a guy, it makes a lot of sense. But is the Mariners front office willing to spend that kind of money this offseason? That is the $1 million question in my idea. That's a question that we're all asking ourselves. And I feel like looking at the Mariners pitching staff right now, who are the 5 best pitchers that the Seattle Mariners have? And Joe, you made a video about that, didn't you?
I think I did. Yeah. I have no
Yeah.
idea if people are agreeing with me. We're recording this right after I published it, so if you guys are flaming me, sick. If not, I'm super smart. So
Yeah. And
go watch
so
it.
that video's on the screen right now. Go ahead and check that one out. Also, if you guys have a picture meeting us, send it to me so I can put it on this board, please. Thanks. All right. Appreciate you guys watching episode 30 of the Hit It Here podcast. Favorite number 30 Mariner. Go, Joe. Mariner or number 30.
Is there? I can't think of a single one off the
I
top of
have
my
no
head.
idea.
Kyle Lewis,
Appreciate you
rookie
guys.
year. Rookie or Kyle Lewis?
Yes! Rookie of the...
Bang.
Appreciate you guys watching episode 30 of the Hit It Here podcast. I'm Colton. That's Joe. I'll talk to you guys next time. Go Mariners.